Chapter Mortal Sin.
I also have to tell you about the conditions under which you will get the money out of the bank when there is a lot in your accounts, Vladimir.
Tell me, Anastasia, this is a pleasant procedure. But what I heard blew my mind. Judge for yourself.
In order for you to take the money out of your bank account, you will have to observe the following conditions. First of all, you cannot use alcohol for 3 days before you withdraw the money. When you arrive at the bank's senior officer will have to use the instructions you have to verify that you have met this condition in the presence of at least 2 witnesses. If this first condition is met, then you can move to implementation of the second. You will have to bow at least 9 times to the bank's officer and 2 witnesses.
When her sense, or rather nonsense, reached me, I jumped up and she rose as well. I could not believe my ears and asked for clarification. First, they're going to check me for alcohol. Then I have to bow to the witnesses at least 9 times in addition. Is that right?
Yes. For each bow, they can give you a sum of no more than 1,000,000 of your rubles at today's value.
Rage, fury, and irritation filled me. Why did you say this? Why? I was feeling so good. I believed you. I was starting to think you were right about a lot of things, that there was a logic to your conclusions. But you... Now, I'm absolutely certain you're not quite right. Negated it all with your last statement. There's no sense or logic to it, and it's not just me. Any normal person would tell you the same. Maybe you want me to set out these conditions in your book too.
Yes.
Well, that's completely abnormal. Are you going to write your instruction to the banks or issue a decree?
No, they'll read them in the book and each one will deal with you this way. Otherwise they face ruin.
Oh my God. I've been listening to this creature for more than 2 days. Maybe you'd like the bank officer to bow to the witnesses with me?
It would be good for him as well as you. This would bring great benefit, but I have not set conditions as strict for them as for you.
You mean you've only shown this favor to me? Can you even imagine what a laughingstock you've made of me? Here's what the love of an abnormal hermit can turn into. Only none of this is going to work. No bank will agree to serve me under these conditions, no matter how much you model your situations. Look how your dreams have gotten away from you. You can bow here in the taiga all you like.
The banks will agree and open the accounts even without your knowledge. True, only those banks that want to work honestly. People will trust them and come to them.
Irritation and rage were building up in me more and more. I was angry at myself and at Anastasia. That's all I need. I'd listened to her so much, tried so hard to understand what she said, and she was basically half crazed. I started expressing myself to Anastasia in crude terms, to put it mildly. She stood there, leaning back against the tree, her head bowed slightly forward. One of her hands was pressed to her chest and the other was raised up, waving slightly. I recognized this gesture. She repeated it each time she was calming the environment so I wouldn't be afraid. And this time I realized why she was trying to calm it. It was as if every offensive or harsh word addressed to Anastasia lashed her and made her body shudder. I fell silent. I sat back down on the grass, turned away from Anastasia, and decided I was going to calm myself now and go to the riverbank. I wasn't going to talk to her at all anymore, but when I heard her voice behind me, I was amazed that there was no insult or reproach in its tone.
You have to understand, Vladimir. Man brings on himself everything bad that is happening to man when he violates the rules of spiritual existence and breaks his connection with nature. The dark forces are trying to distract him with the up-to-the-minute attractiveness of your technocratic existence and forced him not to think about the simple truths and commandments already set forth in the Bible. And they are frequently successful. One of man's mortal sins is pride. Most people are subject to it, this sin. I'm not going to expound for you right now on the tremendous perniciousness of the sin. Once you've returned and decide to sort things out, you'll understand this yourself, or with the help of the enlightened people who will come to see you. But for now, I will just say that the forces of darkness, as the opposition to the forces of light, are seeing to it every second that man retains this sin, and money serves them in this as one of their main instruments. They are the ones who thought it up. Money is like a high-tension zone. The forces of darkness are proud of their invention. They even believe they are stronger than the forces of light because of inventing money, and they use it to distract man from his true purpose. This great confrontation has been going on for millennia, and man is at its center. But I don't want you to be subject to the sin. I realize I won't get by here on explanations alone. Over the millennia, humanity has not understood the explanations or comprehended the method for countering this sin. It's natural you wouldn't be able to either. But I very much wanted to rid you of this mortal danger, this corruption of the spirit. I thought up a situation especially for you in which this mechanism of the dark forces would falter, break down, or even work in reverse. To the eradication of the sin. That's why they became so enraged. Their rage settled in you, and you started shouting insulting words at me. They wanted me to get angry at you, but I would never do that. I realized that what I had thought of had hit its mark, and it's now clear to me that their mechanisms, which have been functioning faultlessly for millennia, can be broken. So far, I've done this just for you, but I'll come up with something for the others too. What is so awful about you drinking that intoxicating poison less, and not being arrogant and obstinate? What were you so indignant about? Naturally, it was pride that had come into play in you.
She fell silent, and I thought, it's incredible, but her mind, or something else there, is investing so much deep meaning into this comic, absolutely irregular situation, this bowing at a bank, and there might actually be some logic to it. I really should sort this out more calmly. Any anger at Anastasia passed, and a sense of vague guilt arose instead. But I would not apologize then, and only turned to face her, desiring reconciliation. Anastasia seemed to sense my inner state, and she immediately roused herself joyfully and quickly began talking.
Chapter Touching Paradise.
Your brain is weary of trying to comprehend me, but I still have much I'd like to say, and I'd like to, but you need to rest. Let's sit down again for a little while.
We sat down on the grass. Anastasia took me by the shoulders and drew me toward her. The back of my head touched her breast, feeling a pleasant warmth.
Don't be afraid of me. Relax,
she said quietly, and she lay down on the grass so that I could rest more comfortably. She lowered her fingers into my hair as if calming it, and with the fingertips of her other hand quickly touched first my forehead and then my temples. Sometimes she lightly pricked various spots on my head with her nails. All this gave me a sensation of tranquility and enlightenedness. Then, placing her hands on my shoulders, Anastasia said,
"Please listen to what sounds are around you now."
I listened, and my ear caught many differences in tonality, rhythm, and duration of sound. I started listing them out loud: birds singing in the trees, insects chirring and clicking in the grass, trees rustling, and bird wings clapping and making noise. After listing everything I was hearing, I fell silent, continuing to listen closely, and I found this pleasant and very interesting.
You didn't name them all.
Yes, I did. Well, I might have missed something not very significant or inaudible to me. Something unimportant, that is.
Vladimir, can you really not hear my heart beating?
Indeed, how could I not have noticed that sound? The sound of her heart beating. Yes, of course I hear it. I hear it very well. It's beating evenly and calmly.
Try to remember the intervals of the sounds you're hearing. To do that, choose the main ones and remember them.
I chose an insect's chirring, a crow's cawing, and water gurgling and splashing in the stream.
Now, I'll speed up the beating of my heart, and you listen to what happens around you.
Anastasia's heartbeat quickened, and, in its wake, so did the rhythms of the sounds I could hear around me, and their tonality rose. Astonishing! This is simply incredible. Do you mean they are reacting so keenly to the rhythm of your heartbeat, Anastasia?
Yes, absolutely all of them. The little blade of grass, the big tree, the bugs. They're responding to the change in my heart's rhythm. The trees are speeding up their internal processes and are starting to manufacture more oxygen.
Do all the plants and animals around people react like that?
No. In your world, they don't understand who to react to, and you don't try to make contact with them, don't understand the purpose of this contact, and don't give them sufficient information about yourselves. Something like this might happen with the plants and people who work in their own small gardens. If the people do everything the way I've already told you, saturating the seeds with information about themselves and communicating with the plants more consciously. Do you want me to show you what sensation a person who has this kind of contact would feel?
Of course I do, but how will you manage that?
I'll match the rhythm of my heartbeat to yours, and you'll feel it.
She slipped her hand under my shirt. Her warm palm pressed lightly on my chest, and her heart, gradually adjusting, began beating in the same rhythm as mine. Something amazing happened. An extraordinarily pleasant sensation arose, as if next to me were loving relatives and my mama. A softening and health appeared in my body, and in my soul a joy, a freedom, what felt like a new understanding of the universe. The range of sounds around me caressed me and told me the truth they knew, which I still do not fully understand but only intuited. All the joyful and mellow feelings I had ever experienced in my life seemed to merge into a single, beautiful sensation. This may be what most call happiness. But as soon as Anastasia began to alter the rhythm of her own heartbeat, the wonderful sensation began to dissipate. I asked, More, please, Anastasia."
I can't do that for too long. After all, I have my own rhythm.
"Well, just a little more." Once again, Anastasia briefly returned to me the sensation of happiness. Then it all dissipated, leaving me nonetheless a particle of the pleasant and shining sensation in the form of a memory. We were silent for a while. Then I once felt like hearing Anastasia's voice again, so I asked, was that how good it was for the first people, Adam and Eve? Lie down, revel, flourish. It's all here, only it would get boring if there was nothing to do. Instead of answering, Anastasia asked me a question.
Tell me, Vladimir, do many people think like that about the first man, Adam, the way you just did?
Most, probably. What was there for them to do in paradise? It was later that man began to develop and dream up all kinds of things. Labor developed man. He became smarter too, thanks to labor.
You do have to labor, but the first man was immeasurably smarter than today's, and his labor was more significant and demanded greater intellect, consciousness, and will.
So, what did Adam do in paradise? Cultivate a garden? If so, now every gardener can do that, to say nothing of horticulturists. The Bible says nothing more about Adam's activities.
If the Bible were to set it all out in detail, it would take more than a whole human life to finish reading. The Bible has to be understood. There is a tremendous amount of information behind each of its lines. You want to know what Adam did? I'll tell you. But first remember, the Bible says that God ordered Adam to give each creature living on earth a name and a purpose. And he, Adam, did just that. He did something all the scientific institutions in the whole world put together still have not achieved.
Anastasia, do you yourself turn to God and ask him for anything for yourself?
What could I ask for when I've been given so much? I have to thank him and help him.
Chapter, Who Raises Our Son?
On the way to the river, as Anastasia was accompanying me to my boat, we sat down to rest at the spot where she had left her outer clothing. Anastasia, how will we raise our son?
Try to grasp this, Vladimir. You are still unable to raise him, and when his eyes look at the world consciously for the first time, you should not be by his side.
I grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her. What are you saying? What are you presuming? I don't understand where you come up with these unique conclusions. The very fact of your existence is unlikely. But all this doesn't give you the right to decide everything yourself, in violation of all the laws of logic.
Please calm yourself, Vladimir. I don't know what logic you have in mind, but try to make sense of everything calmly.
What do I have to make sense of? The child isn't just yours. He's mine too, and I want him to have a father. I want him to have everything and the chance to get an education.
You have to understand, He doesn't need material goods as you understand them. He'll have everything from the very beginning. In his infancy, he will receive and comprehend so much information that studying, again, as you understand it, would simply be silly. It would be like sending a great mathematician to study in first grade. You will want to bring the baby some pointless toy, but he absolutely doesn't need it. You need it for your own satisfaction. What a good and concerned person I am. If you think you're creating good by providing your son with a car or something else you consider worthwhile, but if he wants something, he'll be able to obtain it himself. Think calmly, Vladimir. What concrete and important thing could you tell your son? What could you teach him? What have you done in life that would interest him?
She continued speaking in a gentle, calm voice, but her words made me tremble.
You have to understand, Vladimir. When he starts making sense of the universe, you will seem like an underdeveloped being next to him. Do you really want this? Do you really want your son to see his father as a muddlehead? The only thing that can bring you closer to is the degree of purity of intentions. But this purity is attained to very few in your world. You must try to achieve it.
I realized it was utterly useless to argue with her, and I cried out in despair, "You mean he will never know about me?"
I will tell him about you and your world when he is capable of understanding it all consciously, and of making decisions. What he'll do, I don't know.
Despair, pain, insult, and a terrible conjecture were rolling inside me. I felt like striking this beautiful intellectual hermit's face with all my might. I understood everything, and I gasped for air at what I had understood. I understand everything, everything. You had no one to sleep with here in order to conceive a child. You were posing from the very beginning, you manipulative, making yourself out to be a nun. You needed a child. You went to Moscow. You sold your nice mushrooms and berries. You should have hustled there, taken off your jacket and kerchief. They would have snapped you up right away, and you wouldn't have woven your web and entangled me. Of course, you needed a man dreaming of a son, and you got what you were after. Were you thinking about a child? A son? Who was foreordained to live as a hermit, to live the way you believe he should, and to think she was expounding the truth? You're taking on a lot, hermit. What are you? The ultimate truth. Did you ever give me a moment's thought? Yes, I was dreaming of a son, dreaming of passing my business on to him, teaching him business. I wanted to love him. How am I supposed to live now? Live and know that your tiny son is crawling around in the remote taiga somewhere defenseless, without a future, without a father. Yes, this breaks my heart. You wouldn't understand that, you forest bitch.
Maybe your heart will become sensible and everything will be fine. That kind of pain will cleanse the soul, quicken the thought, call you to create.
But fury was storming inside me, the kind of rage that... I lost control. I grabbed a stick. I ran away from Anastasia and started beating the stick against the small tree with all my might, until the stick broke. Then I turned toward a standing Anastasia, and, as soon as I saw her, incredibly, my rage began to subside. I thought, why did I lose control of myself again and fly into a rage? As she had the last time I had cursed her, Anastasia stood there, pressed to a tree, her arm raised and her head bowed as if she were withstanding a hurricane-force wind. No longer angry at all, I approached her and began examining her. Now her arms were pressed to her chest, her body was trembling lightly, and she was silent. Only her good, always good eyes were watching me tenderly. We stood there like that for a while, examining each other. I thought, without a doubt, she is incapable of telling a lie. She didn't have to tell me all this, after all, but she did. She knew it would be bad for her, but she said it. Of course, this was an extreme, too. You couldn't survive speaking only the truth all the time, only what you thought. Well, what was to be done if she was like that and could not be different? Everything came to pass just as it did. What happened, happened. Now she was going to be the mother of my son. She was going to be a mother, as she said. Of course she would be a strange mother. Her way of life, her thinking. But there was nothing to be done for it. On the other hand, she was very strong physically. And good. She knew nature and animals well. She was smart, although her intellect is unique. Still, she knew a lot about raising children. All the time she so wanted to talk about children. She would nurse our son. A woman like that would nurse him. She would get him through the hard frost and blizzards. They were nothing to her. She would nurse him and raise him. I had to adapt to the situation somehow. I would visit them in the summer, as if it were my dacha. In the winter, that would be impossible. I couldn't take it. But in the summer, I would play with my son. He would grow up, and I would tell him about the people in the big cities. But right now, I did have to apologize to her. Forgive me, Anastasia. My nerves got the better of me again. She began speaking immediately.
It's not your fault. Just don't curse yourself. Don't be upset. You were concerned about your son. You were upset that he would have a bad time of it. That your son's mother was like an ordinary bitch and didn't know how to love with a real human love. Just don't worry, Vladimir. Don't get upset. You said that because you didn't know anything about my love, my beloved.
Chapter: Across a Span of Time.
Anastasia, if you're so intelligent and omnipotent, does that mean you might help me too? She looked up at the sky and back at me.
There is no creature in the entire universe capable of developing more powerfully than man, or having more freedom. All other civilizations bow down before man. All the various civilizations can develop and improve in only one direction, and they aren't free. They can't even begin to understand man's greatness. God, the great reason, created man and gave no one more than him.
I couldn't understand, or rather immediately comprehend, what she said. Again, I asked the same question, asking about help without myself understanding the specific help I wanted.
What do you have in mind? For me to heal all your physical ailments, that's easy for me. I did that 6 months ago, only no benefit was gained in the main thing. And what is pernicious and dark in people of your world did not diminish in you. Your little aches and pains, they tried to come back. Witch, crazy hermit lady, I need to get out of here as fast as I can. That's what you are thinking right now, am I right?
Yes, I replied, surprised. That's exactly what I was thinking. Are you reading my mind?
I guessed what you might think. It's written all over your face. Tell me, Vladimir, do you really not, well, remember me even a little?
Her question surprised me greatly, and I started examining the features of her face more closely. Her eyes, I really did start to think I might have seen them somewhere. But where? Anastasia, you yourself said you lived in the forest all this time. How could I have seen you? She smiled and ran away. After a while, Anastasia emerged from the bushes, wearing her long skirt and brown button top, with her hair gathered up under her kerchief, but without the jacket she'd been wearing on the shore when we met. The kerchief was tied a little differently. The clothing she wore was clean, but unfashionable. The kerchief covered her forehead and neck, and I remembered her.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Anastasia, Book 1 of the Ringing Cedar series, An Odd Young Woman.